Hey everyone, so great to see you again. It's Judy from Coffee, Cookies, and Books, and what we've got for you today is a vlog. Well, as I said, what we have is a vlog, and we're reading in this one 3 Karin Slaughter books. So we're going from almost a 20-year gap. Well, actually, maybe a little more than 20-year gap, because this first one is part of her Grant County series, which is very old, and this was published in 2004, 2003, 2004. This one, 2016, and this one last year, 2025. So we've got a pretty good spread of books that take Karin Slaughter through 20 years of her writing. And I do have some interesting comments, which you're going to see about these 3 books. And yeah, so that's it. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's get on with my reading. So I figured while I was making my coffee, we'd talk about this book, Think Cold Fear by Karin Slaughter. So it's the first book in this vlog series. We're going to do 3 Karin Slaughter books, and I am almost 50% through this, so I thought it'd be a good time to do a check-in. And quite a lot has happened, which is typical in Karin Slaughter's books. I find that, she gets you right into the meat of what's happening at the beginning. However, her books have a ton of twists and turns as they go through. So it's like whatever happens here, more is going to happen here. That's the first 2 books. This is the 3rd book in the Grant County series, and the previous 2 were Blindsided and Kiss Cut. And the 2 main characters that you follow most of the time is Sarah Linton, who is the county coroner and pediatrician, and then her ex-husband Jeffrey Tolliver is the chief of police. So they're the 2 kind of mains that everything kind of revolves around them. And in this particular case, they have a situation where Sarah is called to a scene where there is a college student who has been, not so good. And they think that he has self-deleted, although, because that's what it looks like, although Sarah has her doubts. So that's what happens. But in the meantime, when Sarah went to this scene, her sister Tessa was with her, and Tessa was like, I'll go with you, But Tessa's pregnant, and when they get there, she's really got to pee. So she heads up a embankment into the forest area to go pee, and she is attacked up there, and it's not good. So this all happens right at the beginning, and so you're dealing with, okay, hold on. I'm going to actually do my coffee while I talk. So you're dealing with a young college student who is found that way, and they have to call an emergency. Oh, I have to step out of frame for a sec. They have to call an emergency to evacuate Tessa, Sarah's sister, because she is in critical condition. So that's kind of the situation where we're at with it. So I'm just going to take a break. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, just have to rinse out the the milk, my milk. I'm making my lattes, okay? Okay, so they've evacuated Tessa. They're flying her into Atlanta to a hospital there, and Sarah goes, and Jeffrey's left at the scene. So he's doing his investigation part. Meanwhile, Sarah's at the hospital, and of course her parents are angry and they're upset. Jeffrey's the one who has to go and tell them what's happened. And Sarah feels guilty because she brought Tessa there in the first place. So there's all that family drama. And all three books are kind of like that. They have sort of that family drama feel to them. And, I actually kind of like that because you feel like you're following these characters through a ongoing timeline throughout all of the books. And that's one of the things that I really like with police procedural type books and police procedural type series like this, is that you get a growth in the characters in every book. And so that's happened. Another side character who does have her own point of view is Lena. And Lena worked for Jeffrey up until this book, okay? And in this particular book, Lena is now a security officer at the college where all of this is transpiring. And Lena was a victim in the first book. So she has been dealing with the implications of what happened to her and the mental problems that she's having, the stress. She has PTSD. There's no doubt in my mind that that's part of what's wrong with her. And Jeffrey wanted her to see a psychiatrist, and she was not doing it. And he said, you make the choice. Either you go see that or it's your job. And she quit. So now she has finally broken down and she is seeing someone at the college, but she doesn't want him to know. So there's all kinds of tension between the two of them. That's right from the beginning. And yeah, it's like, I don't know where this is going to go. But I can say that we have another young person who appears to have committed self-deletion. So that's kind of where we've stopped at. And Sarah has done the autopsy on this particular body. So yeah, and she's found something interesting. They suspect that neither of these two kids have done that to themselves. So that's the suspicion. And my coffee's ready, and I'm going to end it right here. So the next report will be my final report, because I'm probably going to finish this tonight, and then I can get back to you on my final feelings on how the entire story went. And yeah, so far, loving it. Typical Karin Slaughter, and love her writing, love the grittiness, and I love the family drama, the people drama. Fabulous. Okay, that's it. I'm out for today. So I finished A Faint Cold Fear and didn't hate it, but didn't love it. So the first two books, which were in the Grant County, this is the Grant County series, first two books were Blindsided and Kiss Cut. Now, Blindsided, I think I gave it a 3.5 or a 4, and Kiss Cut was a 5. It was so good. Absolutely loved that one. Now, this one, it was a bit weird on how she paced the story. The other thing is, and it was a comment that I made in my review of it, was in the previous two books, I liked Lena as a character. So Lena was okay. And, Lena's storyline, you kind of felt for her. She was having a very difficult time. I don't want to get into it because that would give too much away. In this particular book, I wanted to smack Lena. I mean, it was like her again, tortured, and not like physically tortured, but mentally tortured. And like she has PTSD from the incident that happened in the first book. That was a given. But then she gets herself involved with this guy in this book who should have set off all her alarm bells, and he didn't. So I just kind of, yeah. And then I didn't like how it ended. So it's kind of like one of those ones where I was following it and it seemed to be evolving fine. And then it got to the last 50% and I was like, what direction is she going with this? okay? Because honestly, even how it wrapped up at the end and who was the person who had created these situations that had killed these kids, okay? It's almost like she was looking for a way to tie it all in, and it just didn't work. It didn't work that well for me. I mean, it was okay. I gave it 3 stars, okay? So it was a 3-star read for me, but it should have been, it could have been higher, because based on that, like the first half of the book was fine. I did a chit chat with you on the first 50%, and I was actually enjoying the first 50% of the book. And I was enjoying the direction it was going. And now in this particular book, while Sarah, who is one of our main characters, while Sarah's sister was attacked right at the beginning, Sarah played a very small role, which I didn't mind the fact that Sarah wasn't the one who figured out what was happening. Okay, didn't mind that. I mean, even Jeffrey didn't figure out, the chief of police, who is Sarah's ex-husband. Those are like your 2 mains, right? I didn't mind the fact that they kind of, neither one of them figured out who the person responsible was. They had no clue. I didn't mind that, but the lead into who that person was, it was like literally the last 70 pages of the book. So I'm like, well, what happened with the beginning of the book, right? And then there was another victim who was the head of security at the college, and that was another twist, okay? So, but that was all like, she wrap that in too quickly, and then the lead-in didn't fit with that, to me. That's just my opinion, okay, on this particular book. Now, I will be continuing on with the series. Can't remember how many books exactly are in this particular series. Let me just check. I think I have it on here. How many books are in this? There's 6 books in the series. So on to book 4. And then from this series, it goes into the Will Trent series. So it's kind of like a natural flow, because they do tie together. And they are kind of like located, like Grant County is it's in Georgia. So this is all like outside of Atlanta, Georgia, like all kind of in that general area. So I think that the Will Trent series also kind of works in that whole general area. So yeah, very much looking forward to it. Now I am continuing on to Pretty Girls. I've probably read about 50 pages of it so far. And if I had to go in the first 50 pages, I'm going to give it 50 more pages. But I'm this far from DNFing it. Don't like it. So if she doesn't get moving on this storyline, she's going to lose me on this one. So yeah, so that's Pretty Girls. And then I do have the newer one. Can't remember the name of it offhand, but that's also going to be next up after Pretty Girls. But Pretty Girls may end up on my unhaul pile. So fingers crossed. Yeah. 60 pages, 63 pages I've read so far. So I'm going to give it up to 100, and we'll see where it goes. And I will let you know. Okay? So be back soon. So I'm just getting ready to sit down, film a video. And I thought that I would do my first update on Pretty Girls by Karin Slaughter. Now, when I finished A Faint Cold Fear, I had already read about 50 pages, 50, 60 pages in this, and wasn't really feeling it. Obviously, I've continued. I'm halfway through, okay? I'm literally at 51%. So clearly I like the book. However, I can see the difference. There's a huge difference in the writing style between this and this. Now, this was published in the early 2000s, I think 2003, 2005. Let me just confirm that. Let's see. Yeah, 2004. So that's around the time that this was done. This, though, I believe was 2015. Yes. So 12 years difference. 10 years, 11 years. I can't do my math this morning. I don't know if it's because this is written a certain way because this is a police procedural, whereas this is a standalone. Okay. I prefer this style that she wrote. This is the third book in the Grant County series, and it is the first two, Blindsided and Kiss Cut. Fantastic. This one was like around a 3, maybe 3.5, maybe 3.5. Not quite as good as the first two, but still just as gritty and dark. People said this was dark and gross, and I'm 50% through. No, it's not. Okay, so what we've got is we have, it starts off with a young girl, college, goes missing. Okay, and that's where the story starts, but that is in the past. And of course, it affects the entire family. There's the mom, the dad, and the 2 sisters. So that's kind of your introduction in your first chapter. Then it jumps forward 20 years forward, and you now have glimpses of these 2 sisters. And the one sister is married to someone, and he is killed right away at the beginning of the book. So the other sister, now these 2 sisters don't speak. They are estranged. They have not spoken for a very long time. Like we're talking 20 years. Not long after the sister went missing, they stopped talking. Now the older sister, she has a teenage daughter, and she used to be drug addict, everything like that. And she kicked all of that. And when she got pregnant, that was it, So, she's dealt with that sort of thing in her past. And it was very difficult for her family. And a lot of it had to do with the missing sister going missing. But she had a tie to the husband of the younger sister, and not in a good way. And so when he died, she was like celebrating, okay? And she goes to his grave, and that's where the 2 sisters hook back up. And honestly, I had to laugh at what she was going to do at the gravesite. I'm not going to say anything because it was actually a pretty funny scene. But the husband that has passed away, not on his own. I don't know how to explain this, but he was an architect. He was quite brilliant, okay? And he had built their house. And she's looking for files to give to his business partner, and comes across files, and not good files, okay? And she's not sure what to do with them. Like, it's not underage, so you're not dealing with pedophilia or anything of that nature, right? It is literally it's young teenage women, but it's women like 19, 20, like around that age, right? I don't know if they're under 16, but there is a series of them in these videos. And in the videos, they are snuff videos. And if anybody wants to know what that is, you can look up the term. I'm not going to go into detail because YouTube would not like that very much. I do mark my content as 18 and over because I do figure that is definitely 18 and over. But anyway, so what happens is this causes Claire, who's the younger sister, to doubt the fact that he did not attempt to essay Lydia, the older sister, because that was what Lydia said. So that was where the estrangement between the two came in. And it's very believable. It's actually done very well, I thought. But everything in the first 50% has dragged. Like, it's so slow. Whereas her books are never slow. They open up with a big bang. Like, this did open up with a bang in the sense that her husband was unalived by someone, basically in the first main chapter. You had the opening chapter, and then you had the first main chapter. I think that's where where it happened, where they were mugged. Apparently, where they were mugged. So I'm not really sure where this is going, but at the point that I'm at right now, they have found out multiple things about the husband, okay, because Lydia is now working with Claire together, and they have found out certain things. Like, you find out right at the beginning, the husband is basically an orphan. His parents were killed in a hit and run, not a hit and run, but car was hit by a transport truck, and of course both parents died basically right away. He inherited their property, which was essentially in the same place that the missing sister went missing. So that right there, there's a link. It's like in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, well, okay, there's going to be a link because there's weird shit going on with the husband. There's going to be a link. So you kind of know that right away. And it gave that away. So at the 50%. So I'm at 50%. And we already know that. Which, it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know that you needed to mention that connection. It would have actually had more impact at the point where they found out for sure, which they have already found out for sure at the 50% mark. And this is totally a spoiler. So, I think it would have been more effective if you had not mentioned that they suspected the relationship between where this farmland was that they were going to take a look at and how it related back to the sister. I'm just saying, because it was like red flag. You're sitting there and you're reading this and you're like, oh yeah, okay. Anyway, the pace has picked up. I would say I'm on page 220, and I'd say the last 50 pages, it really picked up the pace on where they are and what they've discovered. And then I stopped at a cliffhanger end of a chapter. Okay, because I wanted to stop there. Because I knew I was going to make this video, and I'm like, so now I am actually now interested. At the first point where I am actually interested to see where the last 200 pages go. I not even quite 200 pages, but almost 200 pages left is what I've got. So now I'm anxious to see where it goes. But up to this point, I was not. So I would say it's okay so far, but I wouldn't put it in the same category as how much I enjoyed the Grant County series. So that's where I'm at with it. We'll see, I still got 50. I'm going to try and finish it tonight. I did finally get the audiobook. So with the audios, I don't do audiobooks by themselves, but I can do them with immersive reading. And I can get through it quite a bit faster with the immersive reading. with the audio. So I did finally, it did go off hold, and I did finally get it. My library, unfortunately, has everything's on hold at my library. So, I put in for it right at the beginning, before the month started, because I already had the books selected out to film my TBR video. And so it finally came up. So I have it sitting up there, and we'll start from where I finished off, and then we will see how the book ends. I try not to give away too many spoilers, but it's really hard in a book like this. Like, there's certain things I have to mention because it has to do with my impressions of what's going on. But more or less, the entire book is centering around these two sisters and what the one sister, the younger sister, did to the older sister. And I mean, the really sad part of it, the fact that there was this chasm between them, had to do with the husband, obviously, and what he attempted to do with the older sister, is that they completely missed out on, she missed out in the growth of her niece. She's never met her. She's never seen her. The only reason she knows she exists now is because of something that happens in the book that has to do with the husband. So it's sad, right? And then on top of that, the mom, okay, who is still alive, she remarried. The father passed away. The mom's never met her either, because the mom sided with the younger sister. So it's really kind of sad, because you and I both know that it's hard to rebuild those relationships. Very, very difficult. And I'm just going to, I don't know quite what to do about that. It's like, yeah, it's a little sad. Anyway, I hate to see that. I have a very close friend who has gone through that, who has gone through, so it kind of, like, it bothers me a lot when I read that sort of thing in a book, because she has gone through being cut off from her grandparents and things of that nature. She's not close with her brothers. They're banging back there again. Fence building. Oh, joy. Anyway, usually doesn't, not too much comes through in the microphone, but sometimes you can hear a little bit you can hear that tapping. Anyway, that's enough for me for now. I will be back when I have the final part of that. Oh, and I was going to say, whatever you do, remind me to never film myself making coffee ever again, because the lighting in the kitchen is absolutely horrible. Okay, that's enough. That's all I have to say. I'm out. I'll see you with the next update. I'm back with an update on Pretty Girls by Karin Slaughter. So I did finish it. I think the last update I did, I was at 50%, and the first 50%, it was slow. Wasn't really feeling it all that much, but I kept going, and things did pick up a little bit. There was a point at the 50% mark where I felt the story progressed quite a bit, but then it was like I hit that point, and then it just became about Claire, the one sister, and it kind of dragged through like this 50-page point until we got to the end. And then, bang, it was the end. And then you had like a couple of chapters of her telling you, okay, what the police found out, instead of it actually showing up in the climax, okay? So now she does do that, but in the previous books that I've read of hers, which are the police procedurals, this is the first one that I've read that is not a police procedural. But in most police procedurals, you do get a point at the end where you get certain things are told to you because it can't all be completely resolved in the climax. But usually the things that you're told come out as a result of the things that happen in the climax. Now, in this particular case, there was just so much jammed into like these two, I think it was 2 chapters at the end. It was just, yeah, it was too much for me. And then the other thing that just didn't flow for me was I understood both sisters had an issue with the authority of police, FBI agents. They had an issue with that. And that became kind of what drove them. They distrust. They didn't trust them. And so, like the one sheriff that was part of the small town, and he was the one who had investigated their missing sister 20 years previously. And he was suspicious, okay? And, suspicions turned out to be kind of obvious. Like there were certain things that were really obvious in it. And then there were certain things where it was like you hoped that the one sister, particularly Claire, was going to take a leap of faith when she knew Lydia was in danger, okay? So that was kind of how it all sort of just didn't feel right to me, and it felt like it was just a little far-fetched. And the other thing is, I don't even know how I feel about Claire and Lydia. I know that, like, their mother, Helen, it was like her whole storyline, which of course was told to us through what was happening and based on Lydia and Claire, okay, as your narrators, just didn't add up. It was stupid. I was like, what mother? I mean, I guess I kind of get it a little bit, but I don't. The other thing is that when their father unalived himself, they all just accepted it. That's all I'm going to say about that, okay? And I felt like they shouldn't have, right from the beginning. There was just something not right. And what happens through the whole book, you actually get small chapters which are his viewpoints in the past. As you read into those, you actually see his intense love for his wife and his daughters, to the point that you can't visualize him doing what he did, right? So, yeah, everything fell apart at the end. So, up to the 50% point, I was at a 2-star for the book. There was a small point that kind of lifted it a little bit, and then to me it fell apart at the end. I gave it 2.5 stars. I actually think that was a little bit generous, and I'm going to be honest that on Goodreads I went with 2 stars. And that is because I felt that way about the book. Yeah, I don't know. Like, people said, oh, it's really like hard to read and gross and gory, and I was like, I didn't feel it actually even matched like one of the ones that I've read, because I'm reading the Grant County series, which is one of her older series, and the second book in the series was Kiss Cut. Oh, that was rough. It's like, that was really, like, if you think this is gory, never read that book. Like, that book was really, hard to read, but it was so good. Oh my God, it was so good. I think I gave that one 5 stars. I loved that one very, very much. So that's what this was, a disappointment. Huge disappointment. Yeah. Anyway, not the writing style. Okay, I'll give you that. I loved her. I love her writing. I mean, and honestly, I think it's her writing is very engaging, and so that's what kept me reading. I actually like how she writes, so that's probably what kept me in the book in the first place. So I have started. We are all guilty here. I'm at the 50% mark. Now I am expecting this to feel more like Grant County. And the reason I say that is it is already a police procedural. So it is already starting very similar to the feel of Grant County. At 50 pages, you already have your incident, okay? So you already have the beginning of your story. These two teenage girls, 15 years old, they've gone missing. And they've gone missing in a very suspicious manner that the police, who are very familiar with the girls, it's a small town, they know each other. And one of the police officers, Emmy, is best friends with the stepmom of one of the girls. So it is going to go from there. I think it's going to be an emotional ride, if anything's based on the first 50 pages. Yeah. So I'm actually really looking forward to this with how it started. So we shall see. And I will try to come back at the 50% mark, just like I have with the other 2 books. And I'm hoping this is going to be a better read than the other 2 books, because so far, well, I mean, I can't say A Faint Cold Fear was disappointing. I enjoyed it because it followed the characters in the Grant County series, and I did enjoy that. It just wasn't as good a story as the first 2 books. So that's all with that one. This one, though, yeah, definitely upside down. Definitely a disappointment. So this one's next, and I'll be back at the 50% mark. So just popping in here to do the 50% update on We Are All Guilty here. So as you can see, I got to, well, almost 50%, 194. There's 435 pages, so pretty close. Now, the reason that I tapped this one spot here is because at this point, which is about 150 pages, it jumps 12 years ahead. I was not expecting that, okay? So what this is this is a story about 2 young girls. I think they're 15, and they both go missing on the same day. It's the day of the fireworks, so I think it's like July 4th, sorry, big fireworks day, and they both go missing. Now, Emmy, who is one of the police deputies, and her father is actually chief of police, she encounters the one girl, Madison, on her way to the bathroom, and she kind of shakes her off because she's upset about her deadbeat husband. Again, this is an ongoing thing, and Madison, I think, was trying to tell Emmy something, but I'm not even sure if Madison would have actually told her. So Madison's got a lot of secrets, okay? And then the other girl who's gone missing is Cheyenne, and they are best friends, and they do everything together. Now, as they're going through the investigation, they find out a lot of things about what Cheyenne and Madison are up to when they search the rooms. Cheyenne's room has a lot of things in it that shouldn't be there, and they're questioning how she got those things, which is interesting because I don't know if that was ever explained in the police case. So basically what happens is, it is a spoiler, so I'm going to say that right now before I continue. And if you don't want to listen, I'll put in a spoiler marker so you can kind of follow that as you go through the video, and where it stops will be my end review, okay? And I won't mention it again, hopefully, but they find the two girls dead. Emmy is actually the one who finds them. They have been submerged in a pond that is outside of, like, on her older aunt's property, and the guy who did it, apparently, allegedly, worked for her aunt. And he had been kind of a suspect, but they didn't actually know who he was. It was just a nickname that was given to him by the kids called the Perv. Okay? So anyways, that was sort of the gist of it. And that was kind of, it ended. It literally drops you right there and jumps 12 years ahead, which is insane. Now, as a result, I just wanted to build a little bit on this, because as a result of what Emmy did to Madison at the park, like kind of just ignoring her and whatever, because it was shortly after that the girls were taken. She loses her best friend because of it, because Hannah is Madison's stepmother. And Hannah can't forgive her for what she did. Hannah's like, you always choose Jonah over us. Jonah's the deadbeat ex-husband. And there's all kinds of fallout from that. And literally, when you jump 12 weeks ahead, Hannah is not speaking to her anymore. It's like they haven't spoken in 12 years, barely. And to be perfectly honest, I understand the initial feeling of being upset. It was like, you could have been there for her. But then at the same time, there's no guarantee that Madison would have told her anything. There's no guarantee that Madison wouldn't have been in the place that she was when the girls, like, there are no guarantees, okay? It still could have happened the way it happened. There was enough time in between that it could have happened that way. So I think that, yes, it's kind of, initially you would be upset, but if this is truly your best friend and the person you've grown up with, that 12 years of not talking is too extreme. That's just my opinion. Okay, so what happens at the 12-year point is the guy who was initially convicted of killing the two girls actually manages to get parole. Now, that's never actually clearly stated how, but I think it had to do with the evidence at something like that. And he gets parole, and he basically ends up coming home to the same town, which I don't even know how that happened. And another girl ends up going missing. Another 14-year-old goes missing at the exact same point that this guy comes home. So Emmy and her father, now her father is quite old at this point, but he's still the chief of police, but he wants to retire, and he wants Emmy to step up and run for the position because it is an elected position. Emmy doesn't actually, I don't think she wants the position, if I'm being frank. I don't know that she wants it, but something happens as a result of this girl going missing. And Paul, the father of Madison, who was the young girl that died in the first part of this, does something extreme, and it ends up in tragedy. And it was very sad. So that's kind of where I've stopped. I've kind of ended it off. I know that at this point they're going to call in the FBI. And there is a particular FBI hunter. She is a serial killer specialist, and she has noticed this case and seems to be she's expressing interest. And this is kind of where I've ended off at. So I don't know where she's going to come into play in this, but yeah. So that's where I'm at with it. Like, I thought it was great up to the point that it jumped 12 years ahead. Okay? Because you're missing everything in between. You're basically missing the entire investigation into, did this guy do it or not? You know what I mean? It's like, did they rush to judgment on it? Is that how come he got parole after 12 years? In only 12 years in jail for killing 2 girls? Like, just something is wrong with all of this. So, but you're missing a lot of pieces in between, you know? So I'm not sure. I mean, it's good. I'd say it's running, well, I mean, up until that happened, it was like a good 4 to 5 star, like 4 to 5 star book for me. It was really good. It was a typical Karin Slaughter book. But now this 12-year jump, and it's like we're starting a new book. That's kind of how I feel. Okay. So I don't know. I mean, I've got 230 pages left, which is like I'm halfway in the book, and it feels like I'm starting a new book, even though technically it's the same people, same town, but it's almost like starting a new book. So we'll see. We'll see how I feel about it. Yeah, I like the characters. I actually like the characters. I don't mind Emmy. I think Emmy is a weird combination of strong at certain points and weak at other points. Like how she put up with her husband, who's now her ex-husband, 12 years ahead. He's ex. But how she put up with him is beyond me, okay? She has a son who's really great. And in the 12-year jump ahead, her son is now a junior deputy with the police officer. He is 23, 24. So kind of that perfect age, you know, that he is now following in her footsteps, which I think is lovely. The ex-husband is gone. I don't even know where he comes into it at all, if at all. So there's certain things that are weird. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see where it goes from here. I'm hoping I'm going to finish it tonight because I would like to get this vlog up for the coming Thursday video, because I have to plan a video for that day. So the vlog would be kind of the perfect one to slot in. So fingers crossed, and I can get the final review done, and then we can get that video up. Okay. All right. So that's it for this update. I'll see you in the next one. So I finished it. It was pretty long. You know, it's a 400-page book, but 400-page packed, as a Karin Slaughter book usually always is. Out of the 3 books, this is the one I enjoyed the most. So, as I said, this is a drama about, in the very beginning, where 2 girls are taken and go missing. And I think when I came in at 50% mark, we had done a time jump, okay? And there was a reason for that. I'm not going to continue with that because that was a bit of a spoiler, and I do think I marked it in the first 50%. But essentially, you jump ahead 12 years, and you have another missing girl. So that was why I gave it 4 stars, because it just felt like where it cut it off at, I didn't feel that I got enough of that before it went into the 12 years. I don't think I would have minded that 12-year jump if I had felt like it actually fulfilled the first part of the story for me, and that I felt like it didn't really. You did eventually get more of it, because of course the two instances of missing girls tied together, and you don't understand how until the end. the interesting part is that I guessed part. I don't want to say why I guessed it because that would be a dead giveaway. And I typically, when I do the last 50%, I don't like to give any spoilers on that final 50%, especially in thrillers. So no spoilers. But suffice to say that there are two key things that happen in relation to the new missing girl that I had guessed one of them, and the other one I was like, floating out there. Like, no clue. No clue. I don't know why I didn't pick up on it, but I didn't pick up on it. So that one was out in left field for me. The other thing is, what I do really love about Karin Slaughter is the depth of her characters. Now, we're talking the main characters. So, and that's super important in this book. I'm just going to sit it down for a second. In this book, you have a town that is basically almost 100% was created by this family, the Cliftons. And they have their fingers in a lot of different pies, but the chief of police is a Clifton. And the main character, Emmy, in this book, she is his daughter, and she is a deputy sheriff. So she is also police officer. And it's interesting because of the family dynamics, okay? But I really liked Emmy a lot. And there are things that happen with her. And like, this was kind of, it threw me a bit at the beginning, but I actually liked the time jump in relation to certain people and how it affected certain people and their relationships. I don't want to say the details on that because that would give it away. And there's also a huge, huge, huge family drop at the end. So it's like, I'm not going to say what that is, but it is, it's bizarre how it kind of all comes together, but you understand the difficulty in it. And if I give too much away and too many of those details, you're going to, it's just, it'll kind of ruin how the end part progresses. So once we got past that 12-year time jump, okay, then we basically, it's like, it almost felt like she started a new book with different characters. I mean, with the same characters. Like if she had done the first half in one book and left it at a cliffhanger and then went into a second, I think that would have been more, because I actually wanted more from the first. It was only 150 pages was first. So the final half was 250. So I think that if she had split that into two books and made them 300-page books, she could have done it. She could have done it and left it as a cliffhanger. I think that would have been more interesting and more fun for her readers. And I think it would have been something different for Karin Slaughter. So that's just, me thinking it through and like wishful thinking on my part on how it went. But anyway, so when we jumped into the second 12-year, like when we did that 12-year jump, again, that's kind of more near the beginning of the book at the 150-page mark. Then I felt like it took a bit, again, because you're waiting for the story to get going, because it didn't pick up with the exact details, right? So you're kind of waiting and the characters feel different. Everything feels different. So I would say that it took me another 100 pages, 50 to 100 pages to kind of get things rolling again, which is pretty typical of a thriller. It's usually you're 100 pages in and things are really starting to get going, right? And that was where she lost me a little bit on it. The rest of it, loved it. It felt like a typical Karin Slaughter book, which, as you know, based on what happened in Pretty Girls and reading that and how disappointed I was with that one, this one definitely finished things off beautifully, I can say. So that's where it actually could have been a 5-star book, just simply how much I loved the characters. But that time jump just really didn't flow for me for the story. For me, for some people, it might have been fantastic. For me, it just jarred me a bit too much. So that was why I took it down to 4 stars. And but so let me grab the other books. So that was the last one. So the other one was Pretty Girls. Read that, and Faint Cold Fear. So that was her oldest book. So as I said in the opening, it is 20 plus years of Karin Slaughter, okay, that I just finished reading. And I love her books. I love her ability to really, really put her characters through the mill, okay? Like, she is not afraid to make things difficult, very difficult for all of her characters. None of it ever feels easy. And that's the case in all of the books that I've read. Even Pretty Girls was like that. So I love that about her, because you can have a weak plot, but you can't have weak characters. That's, yeah, I kind of feel that way. Like, I kind of feel that really good characters can really carry a book for you. And she just has a way with her characters. So, and of course her stories too, which are all brutal and harsh, but good. Okay, so that's it for this blog. And, I hope that it encourages you to read Karin Slaughter. If you have not read her book, I mean, you can read We Are All Guilty. Here is a brand new series for her, and it does not relate back to Grant County and Will Trent series. But if you want to read back, start with Grant County, because Grant County ties into Will Trent, which is why I started at the beginning with Grant County. So that's my suggestion, is I would start with Blindsided. That is the first book in the Grant County series, and then go from there. This is the third book in the Grant County series, and I just picked up the fourth book in that series. So definitely, that would be my recommendation. But if you want to start with We Are All Guilty here, you could start with her newest one. They do all feel the same, although I would say that with Pretty Girls, if I didn't know it was Karin Slaughter book, I might not have guessed it was a Karin Slaughter book. So that's all I'm going to say about that one. It's like, if I had to make any recommendations, I would say leave that one out. Read the other recommendations I made. Okay, so that's it. I don't have anything else to say. It's the end of this vlog, and we will see you in the next video.